In the heart of the Colorado Rockies, where snow enveloped the world like a thick white blanket, Clara found solace in her isolation. The deep, hushed snow muted even the softest sounds, creating a cocoon of quiet around her small cabin. To her, the silence was a canvas, a perfect backdrop for her writing. She thrived in her solitude, wrapped in the warmth of her fire and the companionship of Bear, her gentle, aging German shepherd. One evening, as snowflakes danced down from the dark sky, Clara nestled into her chair by the fire, tapping away at her keyboard. Bear lay peacefully on the rug, his chest rising and falling in a rhythmic lullaby. But then, without warning, he jolted upright, a low growl rumbling from his chest, a sound Clara had never before heard. "Easy, boy," she murmured, reaching down to stroke his fur, hoping to reassure him. "It's just a deer." Yet Bear remained tense, his growl morphing into a whimper as he backed away from the window, seeking refuge behind Clara's legs. Confused, she stood and approached the large picture window that framed the dark, snow-blanketed forest outside. She cupped her hands around her eyes, blocking the warm glow of the cabin's interior light. That's when she saw her. A woman stood at the edge of the tree line, her figure silhouetted against the moonlight. She wore a thin, light-colored dress, wholly inappropriate for the biting cold that clung to the air. The woman was motionless, staring directly at the cabin. Clara's heart raced, a jolt of alarm coursing through her. Who could be out there, so deep in the woods? A lost hiker? But she was miles from the nearest trail. Without thinking, Clara rapped on the glass, a sharp, friendly tap to get the stranger's attention. The moment her knuckles hit the window, the woman's head twitched unnaturally, a sudden, bird-like movement. Then, she began to glide toward the cabin, her gait too smooth, too fluid, as if the snow beneath her feet dared not touch her. Clara's breath caught in her throat. Every instinct screamed at her to lock the doors and call for help, but her phone had no service, and the landline had been down since the storm began. She was truly alone, except for the woman. Now closer, Clara could see the woman's face illuminated by the moonlight. It was her own face, an uncanny mirror of her own features. Same hair, same height, even the same flannel shirt and jeans she had worn earlier that day. Yet the expression was alien, an empty, placid stare that sent chills racing down Clara's spine. The doppelganger stopped just a few feet from the window, its head cocked to one side, unblinking. Terrified, Clara stumbled back, her heart hammering against her ribs like a frantic drum. She dashed to the front door, sliding the heavy deadbolt into place, before checking the back door and the basement door. Everything was locked. A soft knock came from the front door. Tap, tap, tap. Polite, patient. Bear erupted into a frenzy, barking and snarling, throwing himself against the door, as Clara's blood turned to ice. Then her own voice echoed from the other side, flat and hollow. "Clara, let me in. I'm cold." Frozen, she screamed, "Go away!" But that voice continued, devoid of emotion. "But I am you, and I'm lonely out here. Let me in. I just want to be warm." The knocking intensified, turning to a pounding that shook the heavy wooden door. Clara backed into the center of the room, gripping the fireplace poker, watching the doorknob jiggle slowly, then violently. The thing outside was no longer pretending to be polite. Its voice transformed into a distorted, multi-layered screech. "Let me in." Bear hurled himself at the door one last time, yelping in terror before he fled to hide beneath Clara's bed. Alone, she stood her ground, praying the old door would hold. The wood splintered under the relentless assault. Then, as suddenly as it began, the pounding ceased, the screeching faded. The only sound was the frantic beating of her heart and the mournful wind outside. Time stretched, and Clara stood still, barely daring to breathe. Slowly, Cautiously, she crept toward the front window and peered out. The porch was empty, the snow where the thing had been standing untouched, pristine, unmarred by any footprints. Though she never saw the woman again, on the quietest, coldest notes, when the wind sang a haunting lullaby, Clara would hear a faint, familiar whisper, a soft echo from within the walls. "I'm still cold."